Primary instruments in Middle Eastern music, I have a few here. This is just a small taste. One that you may well be familiar with is the great-great-great-great-grandfather of the guitar, which is an instrument called oud, which comes from the word wood. And this is one of the oldest instruments. It has a large belly and unfretted courses of strings. That's a very typical instrument found as far south as North Africa and all the way into areas of southeastern Europe, such as Albania. Other instruments would include various kinds of drums. I have one example here of a frame drum with jingles. This in Turkey is called daire or def, and this particular drum was made in the style of Roma or gypsy professional female musicians who would perform through singing. They would do dance songs using nonsense syllables while playing this kind of drum. So this was patterned on that style. You'll also see these frame drums of various sizes, sometimes without these jingles. This other instrument I brought is called a kanun, and kanun literally means law. In some ways, it is the lawgiver of the ensemble. As you can see, there's many levers here which change the pitches. And one of the characteristics of music throughout the Middle East are the very distinctive tuning patterns and the use of what's called microtones, that is, pitches that are smaller than a half step. So to hear what that sounds like, here's an example. And each lever I move is going to change the pitch by 24.48 cents, which is 1/9 of a whole tone. As a result, the musical systems throughout this region are extremely rich. Although there's not a tradition of triadic harmony that was introduced from Western Europe, the older traditions focused on these linear lines or melodies. And there are, for example, in the Ottoman Turkish system, 254 different melodic modes. So you can see if every set of pitches can be changed, there's a great deal of variety there. Another instrument is this. You might recognize this as the clarinet, but in fact, it's called clarinet or granata in southeastern Europe and Turkey. And you'll notice that it has fewer keys. It's also much longer than the standard B-flat clarinet that you would see in symphony orchestras and bands. They also play it with a very soft reed because you have to be able to play these microtones. So I'll give you an example of what this instrument sounds like. So in a sense, even though the instrument originally came from Western Europe in the early 19th century, it was quickly modified to be able to play Ottoman Turkish music. So that was an example of what we would call a taksim, which is a improvised introduction that's designed to warm up the audience's ears to the mode and the maqam. And then normally there'd be a series of pieces that would be played in that mode. So you can tell, even though it looks like a clarinet, it actually has got a very different kind of sound because of the style of music and the aesthetics in the communities there.